Okay. So microeconomics 2 we have started with the theory of factor pricing, and in the first lecture, okay, we are talking about theory of factor pricing and income distribution. So in that lecture I have discussed that the goods are produced in the economy, okay, and it is produced through the combined effort of factor of production, and this factor of production earn income, and this income is distributed among factor of production, okay. So there are two ways we have looked at, okay, how this income is distributed. One is the functional distribution, okay, and second is the personal distribution. So when we are talking about functional distribution, here we are saying that price is paid to the factor of production according to the service that is rendered by the factor of production, okay. So we are paying price to the factor of production for the service that is rendered, not for the factor itself. Then we are saying that when we are doing functional distribution of income, okay, factor only conceived as productive agent, okay, nothing more than that, okay. We are only considering factor of production as productive agent, and here the price of the factor is determined by the market forces and not through any institution, okay. When we are talking about personal distribution, here we are looking at how this income is distributed, okay, among individual, okay, and how individual is holding this factor of production. When we are talking about functional distribution, we are not interested in how the price of the net is determined, okay, how one worker is earning more than the other worker. On these things are not our concern. In the functional distribution, we are only concerned with if a service is rendered, okay, how these factors are paid only for their services, okay. But in personal distribution, we are looking at on the aspect related to the price of the land, okay. If the land is more fertile, it will get more rent. If it is less fertile, it will get less rent. If it is infertile, since it is not productive, so it will not get any rent. Okay, on this aspect we are looking at in personal distribution. Okay. Then again, when we are talking about class structure, okay, and inequality aspect in the functional distribution, this aspect is ignored. Okay. So we are looking at a just fair society. Okay, we are looking at a society where you don't have any discrimination. Okay, so the theoretical model that we are doing, the capitalist theoretical model, okay, that we are doing, it based on functional distribution of income. Okay, in the first lecture we have done that. The purpose of second lecture, okay, is to determine how this factor of production is demanded. There are four factors of production: land, labor, capital, and income. So how land is demanded, okay, how this labor is demanded, and how this capital is demanded, okay, by the firm. So we have started, okay, by looking at the behavior of individual firm, okay, and we are looking at how this individual firm is demanding labor. And for capital and for land, okay, you can do the same way of summarization. So we are looking at individual firm behavior, okay, in terms of determining factor of production, and we are looking at a specific case where we are considering labor to be the factor of production, okay. So why this factor of production is demanded? The first question is that why we are demanding this factor of production, okay. Okay, let me again start this part, okay. So in this lecture, what we are going to do is that we are going to do how individual firm, okay, is demanding factor of production, okay, and we are looking at a special case, okay, how the demand for labor, okay, arises by individual firm, how this labor is demanded by individual firm, okay, that is what we are going to look at, okay. So factor of production is demanded. Why? Because it is productive, okay. Because factor of production is productive, that is why it is demanded, okay. What is produced, okay, is demanded by both producer and consumer, okay. That is what we mean by productivity, okay. What is produced by the factor of production is demanded by both producer and consumer, it is productive. If factor of production is not productive, it will be not demanded, okay. You have land, labor, capital, okay. If land is not productive, say land is infertile, it will not be demanded, right? Because it cannot produce goods and services, so there is no demand for that. Take the case of neighbor, okay. If there is an uneducated person, okay, and if I want that person to teach economics, he or she can't teach, okay. So that neighbor is unproductive, okay, it's not productive, okay. So the service that I want that person to render, uneducated person to render, he or she cannot render, so it is not demanded in order to teach economics. Then you have capital, okay. Take the case of outdated machinery, okay. outdated machinery are not used. Okay. So the first important criteria, okay, for factor to be demanded is productivity. Okay. If a factor is productive, if a land is fertile, if a person is educated and has specific knowledge as per the requirement, if a capital that we required, okay, is demanded, okay, if the machine that we are using, okay, is current machine and useful, okay, that means it is productive, we can use that one. Okay. And if it is not productive, it is not demanded. So first criteria, okay, to determine demand for factor of production is productivity. Okay. If a factor is productive, that will be demanded. Second point, this is most important, okay, productivity alone is not sufficient for the demand of the factor. Okay. Take the case, okay, of hand fan. Okay. If you have visited your grandma, okay, they used to use hand fan. Okay. So there is a hand fan that people used to use. Now we have inverter. So people don't want hand fan. You will not find in any home in the city that people are using hand fan. So even you are productive, you can make hand fan. Okay, if some person is making hand fan, okay, it is not demanded in the city. Okay, so this is not demanded in the city. So there are several activity, okay, where people are productive, okay, where service are productive, but it is not demanded. Take the case of DOS. Okay, before Windows we have DOS. Okay, software. There are many programmers that are very good in DOS. Okay, once Windows come up, the person who knows DOS programming, okay, they are no use. Their service is of no use. Okay, they are productive, but it is of no use now. Okay, so factor of production is demanded. Okay, because it is productive. And second important thing is that productivity aspect must be in demand. Okay, it must be demanded. It is not that you are productive and that thing has no demand. Okay, so it is important that the factor of production, okay, must be demanded. Okay, the attribute that factor of production have must be demanded. Okay, that is why we are saying that demand for factor is said to be derived demand. Okay, and in the case of production, it arises because there is a demand for goods and services. Is it clear why factor of production is called derived demand? Yes, no? Okay. Okay, let me add one more thing. Okay, factor of production or any intermediate goods, okay, that you consider for the production. Intermediate goods can be used for other intermediate goods or for final goods also. Okay, so factor of production for any intermediate goods that we are considering, okay, the demand for on this thing are derived demand. Factor of production is demanded because we want to produce goods and services. Okay, factor of production directly not giving any utility. Okay, producer is demanding this factor of production, land, labor, capital. Okay, in order to produce goods and services. Why? Because producer want to maximize profit. Okay, by consumption of goods, okay, consumer maximizes utility. Okay, but by employing worker, I am not getting anything, right? I will employ worker only when I can make more profit. Okay, how I can make more profit? When there is more demand. When there is more demand, okay, then only I will demand labor more. When there is less demand, I will demand labor less. Okay, that is why demand for factor of production is derived demand. Similarly, demand for any intermediate goods, okay, or raw material, better we say raw material. Okay, so demand for on this intermediate raw material, okay, is also a derived demand. Okay, first thing we have done this thing yesterday. The mathematical thing that we are doing, I have derived that thing. Okay, so yesterday on the mathematical background I have done. Okay, I hope you could understand the chain rule. Okay, today we are going to derive demand for labor by individual firm. Okay, demand for labor by individual firm. Okay. So let me introduce one concept. Then it will make you people understand the whole scenario, okay, in an easy way. Okay, so profit I do not buy pie. Profit is nothing but revenue minus cost. Okay, just one. Okay, profit is revenue minus cost. You write this thing out. Okay, everyone write this thing out. What I am doing as a technical notes. Okay. So profit is what? Revenue minus cost. And revenue, total revenue or revenue we can say depend on price and output or quantity. Okay. So we write price into quantity. This is my total revenue. Okay. And here, since we are looking at factor market, okay, so we have to develop linkage between product market, this is total product, and factor market. Okay. And we have developed this linkage through total product. This is my total product. Okay. And I have talked about production function. Production function is a technical relationship between input and output. This output is a function of capital and labor. Okay. So I am using this relationship. In case of I can write Q also, any functional relationship. So this Q depend on capital and labor. Okay. So I have developed a first step. What I have done, I have developed a linkage between product market and factor market. Okay. This is the first thing I have done. Now I have taken only two factor, but we are talking about 4 factor production. Okay. For simplicity, I have taken 2 factor production. You can take more than 2. There is no issue, because other factor production we are taking to be constant. Okay. We want to know if I employ one more labor, keeping one other factor constant. Okay. How the profit, okay, or here how the revenue of the firm is going to change. Okay. This is our purpose. By employing one more factor, how the revenue of the firm is going to change. Okay. That is our purpose, keeping other factor constant. Satisfactory assumption. Okay. That is. Cost, since we have 2 factor production, cost consists of your wage cost. Okay, this is total labor cost, wage into labor, plus this is total capital cost. Okay, combining these two, this is my cost function. Okay, so this is my revenue, this is my cost. Okay, and yesterday, okay, what I have said is that this total revenue, okay, is a function of price and output. So we can write this up, total revenue, okay, is a function of price and output. Okay. Now we are considering perfect competition. In perfect competition, price is given. So the revenue that this firm is generating, okay, depend on output that is produced, because price is given. Okay. So this is my functional form of total revenue when we make interlinkage between product market and factor market. Okay. This is my revenue function. Okay. Now profit means revenue minus cost. Okay. We have to maximize profit. Our objective is to maximize profit. This is my objective. Okay. This will be useful in your mathematical economics one, what I am doing now. Okay, if you understand this one, it will be useful also in your mathematical economics. Okay. So I substitute this function and this function here. Okay. So my profit will be, what is my revenue? I am writing in functional form. Okay, this function, revenue is a function of output because price is given, and cost I am just writing the simple function what is given here. Okay, Wn, here you have plus n, here you have minus n, then it will be minus r. Okay, now this is here. I have to maximize profit. Okay, most of you people don't know what maximization means. Okay, so when we are doing maximization, okay, just maximization. Okay, remember two things. Okay, first order condition. Just a first order condition. Okay, first order condition is take first derivative. Yesterday we have done derivative. Okay, so derivative means rate of change. Okay, so take first derivative. Okay, and put equal to 0. Okay, since we are doing maximization exercise, so we will get the maximum value. Okay, and we have to check this second order condition. Okay, whether the using my first order condition equal to 0, okay, is actually maximum or actually a maximum or not. Okay, this is what we have to do. So second order condition must be negative. The second derivative of the derivative. Okay, so slope of the slope. Okay, that we have to do. Okay, this we have done in the macroeconomics also. Let me give you the intuitive argument. Okay, I am not going to do the second derivative here. Just make you understand that this you have to do in your microeconomics one. So I have finished it here. Okay, now if I have to find out maximum, here you have x-axis, here you have y-axis. Okay. Which curve I can use for finding maximum? This one or this one? Which one? First one or second one? Very good. Okay, first one. So here slope is positive. Okay. So here also slope is positive, but is it phonic? Here slope is 0 because it is horizontal. Okay, and slope is negative. Okay, it is getting negative. Okay. So what is happening to the slope of the slope? Second order condition was slope of the slope. Okay. So what is happening to the slope of the slope? It is phonic, right? Yes or no? So second order condition is negative for maximum. We don't have to use it here. I am just making you people understand little bit of mathematics, economics. Okay. We are not going to use that one. We are going to use only first order condition. Okay. Then second order condition in mathematics you have to check it. Then slope of the slope must be negative. Okay. If you are getting negative, that means you are having maximum. Okay. Okay. I love this part. Is it clear? Okay. I am not doing second order condition because of the assumption that we have taken. Okay. Diminishing return. Okay. In the short term, when I keep one factor constant, okay, and keep implying one more factor, okay, firm will explain diminishing return. Okay. That means second order condition will be negative. Okay. It is by assumption already, and more detail we will do in economic growth. Okay. So in assumption it is inbuilt. Okay. Already that our second order condition is negative. Okay. So we no need to focus on our second order condition. Okay. So I have to take the derivative of this one. Now price is given to me. Okay. Capital I have taken to be given. Okay. I have to maximize profit as a producer. I have to maximize profit. Okay. And I want to know if I employ one more labor. Okay. What is happening to my profit? Okay. If I employ one more labor, what is happening to my profit? Okay. And where until what point? Okay, I will employ the worker. Okay. When I get the first order condition, okay, it will give me until what point I have to employ the worker. Okay, that is what I am looking at. So I have to maximize profit. Okay, neighbor is my variable. Okay, because I want to know. Okay, if I keep employing neighbor. Okay, up until what point I should be employing neighbor so that my profit will be maximized. Keeping capital constant, price is given. Okay, so I have to maximize profit. Then pi. I write that because there are other variable also. Okay, this is partial derivative. Okay, I use the partial derivative because I keep other factor constant. Okay, we use partial derivative when we keep other factor constant. I have keep capital constant, that I use partial derivative. Okay. Change in profit due to change in labor. Okay. Now, revenue is a function of output. Output is a function of capital in labor. Okay. So here I can use chain rule. Okay. So I can write this up. Del A over del Q into del Q over del N. Okay. Here what it will be? This is multiplication, wage into labor, right? So what will be the here? What will I get here? When you take derivative with respect to labor, what you will get for this term? Because we have to do with this and this, three of them. Look at this one. First, as it is, take the derivative of second term. Del n over del n. Okay, this will cancel out, it will be 1. Okay. Plus second as it is, second is n. Okay. Take the derivative of first term. Wage is constant. I told you wage is given to the firm. So derivative of any constant is what? 0. Yes or no? Okay. So this term will vanish. So when I take the derivative of this part, okay, it will be only W. Okay. Now I have to take the derivative of this part also. This I have done yesterday, so I have written it directly. derivative of this with respect to neighbor. Okay. Now first term as it is, capital I have assumed to be constant. Okay. First term as it is, take the derivative of second term. This is first term, this is second term. Okay. Then k over then n. Okay. Plus second as it is, k derivative of first term, then r over then n. Okay. Now derivative of a constant, because I have taken capital to be constant, will be what? 0. So 0 into r is 0. Rate of interest, okay, rate of interest is given, rate of interest wages is given, okay, because in the perfect competitive market, okay, pharma price taker, factor also price taker, okay, so wage and rent are given. So derivative of constant is 0, so this term will be 0, okay, when I am taking derivative of r into k, is this term will be 0. So I will write minus 0 equal to 0. Okay, this is my first order condition. I have to finish this equal to 0. Okay, so I have done that thing. Okay, so when I take out the first order condition, I have to finish equal to 0. Okay, so what I will get? I will get then r over then q into then q over then n equal to w. This I have done with example yesterday. Now I am doing little bit of mathematics. Okay, then I will do with graph. Okay, first understand this part. Now, if people have done this part, okay, some of you are familiar with delta. Let me write delta r over delta q. This is total revenue. Okay, don't forget that. This is delta q over delta n. This is wage. Okay. Now, delta. What is the interpretation of delta? Marginal in economics, right? Marginal additional, okay? Additional revenue, marginal revenue, okay? You are taking marginal revenue from output. We not say that. We just keep it silent, okay? This is marginal revenue, okay? So this term is my marginal revenue that we know, okay? Multiplied by. This is what marginal additional marginal product of neighbor. This is output product. This is my marginal product of neighbor. Marginal product of neighbor term we use in product market. Okay. Since we are talking about factor market, we will add physical. Okay. So we will write marginal physical product of neighbor. Okay. Must be equal to wage rate. Okay. Then only producer is maximizing profit. Okay. If my marginal revenue times marginal physical product of neighbor equal wage, producer is maximizing his or her profit. Okay, clear? This I am getting from the demand side. Okay, yesterday I talked about this is my demand, and this is from the supply side. Okay. Now, this I have written as marginal revenue product of neighbor. Okay. Now, interpretation in the examination they ask what is marginal physical product of neighbor, what is marginal revenue product of neighbor. Okay. So what is marginal physical product of neighbor? Anyone want to interpret this one? What is marginal physical product of neighbor? Additional output produced by one additional unit of neighbor. Clear? Yes or no? I am saying marginal physical product of neighbor. If they ask you what is marginal physical product of neighbor, okay, you have to say additional output produced by one additional unit of neighbor. In the denominator, we always take one additional unit of neighbor. Okay. Additional output produced by one additional unit of neighbor. Okay. If they ask you what is marginal revenue product of neighbor, margin is what? Additional revenue. Okay. Additional revenue generated. Okay. By employing one more additional unit of neighbor. Okay. You are generating additional revenue. This is marginal revenue, additional revenue, by employing one more unit of labor. So what is the interpretation of marginal revenue product of labor? Additional revenue generated by employing one more unit of labor. Okay, clear? Okay. Now, So you people have done no variable proportion, okay, and in the no variable proportion, okay, at first, okay, here you have taken neighbor, you have taken total product, okay, you have increasing and decreasing rate, then you have point of inflection, then increasing and decreasing rate, then decreasing and decreasing rate, okay. So this is your total product, okay. So increasing rate, okay, may or may not take place. Why? Because when we are talking about total product, it's a function of capital and labor. When you are keeping capital constant, okay, and looking at this ratio capital and labor, when you are increasing one factor, keeping other constant, okay, increasing return may or may not take place, or decreasing return for sure will take place. Okay, that we have done. Okay, but in general we have to talk on possibility. Okay, based on that, you have 3 stages, and you have drawn your marginal product curve, okay, average product curve, okay. So we are drawing only marginal physical product curve, okay. Right, I am adding only physical term, okay, in order to denote factor pricing concept, okay. So till the point of inflection, increasing and increasing it, so your marginal product, physical product curve will be rising, okay. Increasing and decreasing rate, then it must be falling, okay. This is your marginal physical product neighbor curve, okay. So what is marginal physical product neighbor curve? It is a sum of total product curve, okay. Marginal physical product is a sum of your total product curve. Now this marginal physical product, okay, is what? Additional output, okay, produced by one additional unit of labor. See what we have taken labor. Additional output produced by one additional unit of labor, okay. What is the marginal revenue product of labor? Marginal revenue product of labor is marginal revenue times marginal physical product of labor, okay. So in perfect competition, okay, when we are in perfect competition, yesterday we have done that, okay. Price equal to marginal revenue equal to average revenue, okay. This we have done, okay. So both some of you are new here, okay. So let me put it here. I'm not going to write. Let me. Okay. So we are looking at perfect competitive market. Here you have industry. Okay, this is demand curve, market demand curve, this is supply curve, okay. This is the price is given to our representative firm, okay. This is price, okay, and I said that this price, okay, by definition it is equal to average revenue, okay. Since price is given, so it must be equal to marginal revenue, okay. So we talk about total revenue. Let me write here. Total revenue equal price into quantity. What is average revenue? Per unit revenue, okay, divided by quantity is my average revenue. Average revenue equal to price by definition, okay. So this we know. Second thing, we talk about marginal revenue, okay. Marginal revenue is what? Change in total revenue due to change in quantity. Price is given, okay. So when you are changing quantity, okay, you can use the multiplication rule, you will get what? P. Okay, let me use the multiplication rule, okay. So total revenue is what? Price into quantity, okay. Marginal revenue is what? Change in total revenue due to change in quantity, okay. So what is the formula? Price is given, price is constant, okay. Formula you people know. First, as it is, take the derivative of second one. You can write delta D also. I am just writing delta. I have taken the derivative of second one. Plus second as it is, take the derivative of first one. Del P over del Q. Price is constant, so this term will be 0. Yes or no? Okay, so this term will vanish. This will be 1. So my marginal revenue will be equal to price. Okay. So in the perfect competitive firm, okay, price will be equal to marginal revenue will be equal to your average revenue. Okay. So in perfect competitive firm, okay, we can write, in place of MR we can write price also. Okay, let me write this part. So I can write this as price into marginal physical product of labor. Okay, so when I write price in place of MR, okay, it is called value of marginal product of labor. Okay, value of marginal product of labor. In perfect competitive market, value of marginal product of labor will be equal to marginal revenue product of labor. Okay, because price equal to average revenue equal to marginal revenue. AR equal to MR, okay, give us the condition where value of marginal product of labor equal marginal revenue product of labor. Okay, one thing I am adding here, okay, for your understanding, price, okay, that we are paying for the product, okay, is a measure of value to the consumer. Okay, price that we are paying is a measure of value to the consumer. NATO and you people will be learning environmental economics. Okay, there is a term called externality. Externality. Okay. So externality means what? When factory is producing goods and services. When factory is producing goods and services, okay, it is also creating pollution. Okay, so when it is creating pollution, pollution is a cost to the society. But when it is producing, okay, that cost is not taken into consideration. Okay, so when we are doing on this model, perfect competition model, okay, monopoly, oligopolistic, we are not considering this externality aspect. In a perfect competition, okay, there is no externality. Okay, in the absence of externality, whatever good is produced, because price is the minimum compared to monopolistic competition, compared to monopoly, oligopoly. Okay, so price that is charged by the perfect competitive firm, okay, is the lowest. Okay, so the price that they charge, okay, it is called social optimum price. Okay, so the price reflects the value to the society. Okay, here the price that people are paying in the perfect competitive firm, there is no distortion. In a monopolistic competition, there is a distortion. Firm charge higher price. Okay, in order to make profit in the short term, we will be discussing that. Okay, in monopoly you have done that. Okay, there is a natural monopoly case. Okay, firm are not producing as per their capacity. There is excess capacity. Okay, so there is a profit in a monopoly. You have done that. Okay, but here, okay, there is no profit. Okay, you have economic profit. Okay, economic profit means that take into account implicit cost. Okay, so remember this part. Okay, you will understand more when we will be doing later. Okay, now. One more thing I am adding. Okay, this you have done because without this you cannot do the monopoly model. Okay, equation of a downward sloping demand curve. Anyone remember? This is the equation of a downward sloping demand curve, A minus B cube. You people remember this one? Yes, no. This you have done? Yes or no? Okay, then no need to worry. Okay, if you have not done. So this is the equation of a downward sloping demand curve. Okay, no need to worry. I am just driving for you. Okay, how it is. Okay. So if you remember, we have drawn graph many times. Okay. So here you take price, here you take quantity. Okay. So when I take Q equal to 0, what will be my price? A, right? If A is the price, say 100, okay, then there will be 0 quantity demanded. Okay, then you have a negative slope. I want to take out the slope, den P over den Q. Okay, so take out the slope here, den P over den Q. This A term will be 0 because it is constant. Then here I will be having minus B, den Q over den Q. Okay, so it will be minus B. So it is negative slope. Okay, you can take it. So this is my demand curve for monopoly. This curve you know, right? In monopoly you have negative of demand curve. This everybody have seen, right? Okay. So that is why you have negative of demand curve. Okay, in monopoly. Now, this is my price. How I will take out the total revenue here? Total revenue is price into quantity. Okay. So multiply with Q, this will be AQ minus BQ square. Okay. AQ minus BQ square. I have to take out the marginal revenue in case of imperfect competitive market. Okay, because monopoly is an imperfect competitive market. I have to take out that part. Okay. Don't worry. Okay, everything I will give the notes. This derivation is not useful. Okay, only I am just putting it. So when I give the notes, you understand what I have written in the notes. Okay. This is your total revenue. Okay. You have to take out marginal revenue. Marginal revenue is what? Change in total revenue due to change in output Q. Here I write S1 Q, here I write BQ also, no problem. Okay. Now you have this formula. So in the first case, you will write A change in Q over change in Q minus B. Okay. What will happen if I take the derivative of Q square? What I will write? This one. Yeah, 2Q 2 minus 1. So it will be 1. Okay. So I get this one. So this will be cancelled out. So it will be 1. Okay. So I will write A minus 2BQ. Okay. So my marginal revenue is A minus 2BQ. By definition, I told you price will be equal to average revenue. Okay. So this is my price 9 or average revenue 9. Okay. Here you have slope minus B. Here you have slope minus 2B. Okay. Minus 2B, here B. So the slope of the marginal revenue is twice steep than the slope of your average revenue. Okay. So it will be below your average revenue curve. Okay. Now why I am doing on this? Okay. First question will be why I am doing this. This is your marginal revenue. This is your average revenue of price in monopoly or perfect competitive market. Okay. So we have talked about that in a perfect competition, okay, value of marginal product of neighbor equal to marginal revenue product of neighbor. What is marginal revenue product of neighbor? Margin is additional revenue generated by employing one more additional unit of neighbor. Okay, and this is giving me demand curve of neighbor because when firm will employ one additional worker, okay, it will look at how much revenue is generated by this worker, what is the price of this worker, or price of the product. Okay, by looking at this thing, firm is deciding how much neighbor I want to employ. Okay, now in case of imperfect competitive market, okay, price which is equal to average revenue, okay, price which is equal to average revenue is greater than marginal revenue. We have just shown that average revenue is higher than marginal. This is marginal revenue, this is average revenue. Clear? A minus BQ, this is A minus 2BQ. And through graph also you know. So price average revenue is greater than marginal revenue. And by definition, this is what? Marginal revenue times marginal physical product of neighbor. Okay. This is what? Price into marginal physical product of neighbor. Okay. So in perfect competitive market, imperfect competitive market, okay, price into marginal physical product of neighbor must be greater than marginal revenue into marginal physical product of neighbor. That means value of marginal product of neighbor is greater than marginal revenue product of neighbor. Okay. So in a perfect competitive market, okay, value of marginal product of neighbor will be greater than marginal revenue product of neighbor. That means there is some distortion. Okay, the price that is charged by the firm, okay, is not what is actually the value to the society. Okay, they are charging higher price. Okay, so in a imperfect competitive market, okay, value of marginal product of neighbor, okay, is higher than marginal revenue product of neighbor. Now, just one. Okay. And you know how marginal revenue product look. Okay. I will be doing again today. You no need to worry. Just one more thing I have been add. Then I will give the notes and I will do it. This is your marginal revenue product of neighbor. This is the demand curve for individual firm. Right now we are talking about demand curve for individual firm. Okay. Okay. Now I have to talk about supply curve of individual firm. Okay. That model I will develop later on, but let me give you that part also, because when I will be drawing a horizontal line, some of you in the Keynesian model we have done. Okay, why we are drawing one horizontal line, but let me develop little bit here. Okay, that is also we have to do when we are talking about theory of wages, but let me do it. Okay, so if you have industry here, okay, we are talking about neighbor market. Okay, in the neighbor market there is a demand for neighbor, market demand for neighbor. Okay, demand for neighbor. There is a supply of neighbor. Who is demanding neighbor? On the producer in this industry. Okay, who are supplying neighbor? On the worker. Okay, are supplying neighbor. So this is the equilibrium wage rate. Okay, individual firm, okay, has to take this wage rate. It can employ as many worker as it want. Okay, at this wage rate. No worker is willing to work at below this wage rate. Okay. If this firm is want to pay higher wage rate, okay, that firm can make loss also. Okay, you can hire infinite number of workers at this wage rate, because we are in a perfect competitive market. So for individual firm, okay, this horizontal line, okay, represent supply curve. Okay, so there can be different ways. Okay, demand increases. Suppose demand increases. Okay, so now new wage is W1. Okay. So new supply curve of firm is this one. Okay. Similarly, if there is a decrease, if there is increase in supply of labor, wage can decrease. Okay. So wage can vary depending upon the demand and supply condition in the industry. Okay. And it is given to the firm, my representative firm. Okay. So your marginal revenue product curve, always draw this part. I have told you already. Marginal revenue product neighbor. Okay. Additional revenue generated by employing one additional unit of neighbor. Okay. So how much firm will employ? Yesterday we have done the example. Okay. So depending upon the cost, okay, firm is deciding how much to employ. Okay. Firm is deciding how much to employ, because the condition that we have derived, the derivation part we have done, we get marginal revenue product neighbor equal to wage rate, right? Yes or no? The derivative that I have done for the profit maximization. Okay, firm will employ worker up to the point where additional revenue generated by the worker equal to the wage rate. In the yesterday example, okay, 60 rupees. Okay, so additional revenue generated by the fifth worker is 60 is equal to the wage rate 60, right? Yesterday example that we have done. Yes or no? So so firm will employ worker, okay, up to the point where additional revenue generated by the worker, okay, equal the wage rate. Okay, if wage rate is suppose this much, say W1, how much will be the demand for neighbor? Demand for neighbor will be this much. Okay, here you can add wage, marginal revenue product of neighbor. Here you can add neighbor. Okay, this is my demand for neighbor 1. If my wage rate is this, okay, higher than this, suppose there is increase in demand for neighbor. Okay, when demand for neighbor increases, wage will increase. Okay, then there will be adjustment take place. Okay, because wages are increasing. If supply is fixed, what will happen? Demand for neighbor will fall here. Okay, so that is the exogenous in the given. What is happening in the neighbor market? If there is increase in the wage, demand for individual firm. Okay, individual firm is falling. Okay, if the wage rate fall, what will happen? Demand for neighbor will increase. Okay. So how we are getting this? We are getting through this profit maximization condition. Okay. Additional worker employed by the firm, okay, will be up to the point where it is equal to the wage rate, to the cost of the worker. Okay. So three way I have talked about. One is the table that I have constructed, second is the graph, third is the mathematical representation. Okay, so in three way we have discussed, okay, how much firm is employing worker, okay, and this marginal revenue product neighbor, okay, is the demand curve or derived demand curve for the firm, okay, individual firm. Okay, so let me again write that equation. Revenue is profit is revenue minus cost, WN minus RP. Okay, I am doing profit maximization, so I will add then pi over then, and with respect to neighbor, because keeping capital constant, okay, then we get let me write directly, okay, marginal revenue times marginal physical product of neighbor minus wage equal to 0, then we get marginal revenue product of neighbor equal to wage. Okay, this is what we get. This is my profit maximization condition, first order condition. Okay, first order condition. Okay, the firm will employ worker up to the point where additional revenue generated by worker, additional worker, 1 unit of worker equal the wage rate. Okay, so yesterday I have constructed one table. Let me finish it again. Then I will start to give the notes. Okay. So all the three things will be at the same finish. So you will be going. Okay. So first I have written neighbor. Okay. Then you have total product, but we are doing factor market, so I write total physical product. Okay. Then you have marginal product, I write marginal physical product. Then price equal to AI equal to MR. That means we are in a perfect competitive market we are talking about. Then you have marginal revenue product. Okay. Then you have wage rate. Okay. Now, before I do this, okay, let me finish one more term. Okay. Just for bookkeeping purpose, okay, let me finish it. So cost, okay, since we are considering two factors here, okay, cost consists of neighbor cost, okay, this is total neighbor cost, and this is total capital cost. Okay. Now, if I write density over del n, okay, let me use derivative better. Change in cost when I am employing one additional unit of neighbor. Okay, what will be here? What I will write? Change in cost when I am employing one additional unit of neighbor. Let me write partial derivative better. Okay, partial derivative means I am keeping capital constant. Okay, let me write partial derivative. So when I write like this, that means I am keeping other factor constant. Okay, density over del n. Okay, then what I will get? Here, this is constant. Okay, so you will write W. Here, if we take the derivative, it will be 1. So this will be wage. Rent is constant, K is constant. So if we take the derivative, this will be 0. So what you will get? Equal to wage rate. Okay, this is what? Delta, then, okay, whatever it is. Additional, marginal cost. Marginal cost of what? Which factor? Neighbor. Okay, this is what marginal cost of neighbor equal to wage. Okay, in product market we write marginal cost. Okay, here we write marginal factor cost. Okay, so what is marginal cost? Okay, no need to get confused. Okay, so when I employ one additional worker, wage is given. For every additional worker I have to pay 60 rupees, if you remember the example. So marginal means additional cost. Okay, how much is my additional cost when I am employing one more worker? Okay, it is this constant term W. W can be anything. Here I have taken 60. Okay, so here I will write marginal factor cost. So if they ask you define marginal factor cost, we will write, okay, marginal factor cost is the additional cost, okay, incurred by firm in order to employ one additional unit of labor. Okay, this is marginal factor cost of labor. Similarly, you can take out for capital, it will be R. Okay. So you have 0 unit of labor, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Now, when your total product is 0, this will be 0. Price I have taken 20, wage I have taken 60. marginal revenue product, this into this give me 0. Okay, let me write this part. So when you employ first worker, it is adding 6 unit of output. When you employ one additional worker, total output increases to 14. Okay, total output increases to 14 means I add first worker. Okay, this is thin guard, this is tall guard. So combining these two worker, my output is 14. Okay, that means that now I have fat guard. Okay, when I add this 3 worker contribution, okay, it is 24. Then fourth guard, okay, it is 32, 35, then 36. Okay, what is marginal product? Margin means additional product. Okay, how much is worker is contributing. So in the first case, first worker contribution is how much? 6. Second worker contribution is 14 minus 6, 8. Third worker contribution, okay, is how much? This worker, fourth worker, 4 minus 3 is 1. This worker I am looking at, okay. Sorry, what is it? First worker contribution, second worker contribution, third worker contribution is 10. Fourth worker contribution is how much? 8, 3, 1. Okay. Clear? This is clear to everyone? Okay. We are looking at contribution of each worker, okay, individually. So we will subtract the contribution of previous worker. Okay. Now this will be 20. Okay. 7. Then what will be the marginal revenue product? Marginal physical product times price. Okay. So in the first case it will be 120. Second case, for second labor it will be how much? How much? 160. Third labor it is 200. Fourth labor 160. Fifth labor it is 60. Last labor it is 20. Okay. What is marginal revenue product? I am defining again and again. Okay. Marginal revenue product means additional revenue. Okay. Generated by employing one additional unit of labor. Okay. So when I employ from 0 to 1 labor, okay, given the price, how much additional revenue generated by the first worker? 120. When I employ this tall guy, okay, he is adding 160 rupees in my revenue. Okay, because price is 20. Price will fluctuate, this will fluctuate. Okay. When I employ fat guy, okay, this is adding 200 rupees, additional 200 rupees. Fourth guy, he is adding 160. Contribution has fallen down. Fifth guy, he is adding 60 rupees. Sixth guy, he is adding 20 rupees. Okay. Now, this is giving me my demand curve. Okay. Suppose wage is 60. Okay. So, how many workers I will employ? Look at this condition. Firm will employ worker up until the point where, okay, additional revenue generated by that worker equal the cost of that worker. Okay. So, where I reach that point? Yeah, 5. See, marginal revenue product of worker, okay, additional revenue is 60 and here it is 60. Okay. So, this firm will employ 5 unit of worker. Okay. This firm will employ 5 unit of worker. If wage is 65, how many you will employ? 4 unit of, yeah, 4 unit of worker. Okay. Because you will not make notes. You don't want to make notes. Okay. Because wage is 65 and that worker is generating additional revenue of 60, you will not employ that worker. So the fifth worker you will not employ, you will employ only 4 workers. Okay. So this is the way we determine equilibrium in the individual firm decision to how much labor they want to employ. Okay. For the firm, for the industry, we will do net on for capital market, for labor market, as well as for net market. Okay. Because